Yeah, so I'm Christina. I'm the managing editor at Aftershock Comics, and what that means is that I work closely with our editor-in-chief, Mike Martz. We're the only two people that are part of editorial at Aftershock. So both of us have our hands on all of the projects that come through Aftershock stores, from the approval of the pitch process all the way through to collecting, everything for trades and whatnot. So yeah, 2021 is looking like it's going to be a pretty big year for Aftershock. We're really excited about the projects that we have coming out this year. We were able to pause. We had to pause production last year, obviously. Almost everybody did. We had to pause publication. We didn't pause production on any of our books, which meant we were able to get ahead on a lot of titles. It also meant that a lot of books that we had scheduled for last year got bumped to the end of the year and into this year. So 2021 has been a lot of anticipation of projects that we thought would be out in the world much sooner. But then it ends up making sense for them to hit when they hit. So that's great. We have some cool projects coming up in June. We had quite a few titles that hit press that seemed to really resonate with readers, which is really great. We have a Peter Milligan story called Out of Body that's being drawn by Inaki Miranda, who drew one of our best received books from 2020, We Live. He's also the co-writer on We Live, but he's drawing Out of Body for us. It's a trippy tale about astral projection, and there's some demons involved in it, and trying to figure out who you are and how other people view you. And Peter Milligan is, of course, a genius, and so he's able to bring such a level of humor and heart and horror to the story that we've been really enjoying. And that first issue is on sale already, so we're really liking how people are responding to it. Out in June, we also had Seven Swords from Evan Dougherty and Ricardo Latina, which is a fun swashbuckling tale. It's about 7 different sword masters, I guess you would call them, from the 1800s, the 1600s. Including D'Artagnan, and he's on a quest for revenge after all of the musketeers are wiped out. And so he's going after Cardinal Richelieu with a scrappy band of sword masters from that era, and trying to stop him from some sort of evil supernatural plot that you have to kind of read to believe. And then, of course, we had Bunny Mask launch in June from Paul Tobin and Andrea Moody. And that book is insane. That book has been really well received, which is exciting. I believe it comes out tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that Bunny Mask 1 is out and on sale on, it's out 6/09. So people have been responding really well to the previews we put out. It's about a crazy, possibly demon, ancient monster creature that looks like a woman with long talons, and she wears a bunny mask, and she appears to this man named Tyler after he goes through an extremely stressful experience being held by a serial killer. And the story is about what happens after that, after Bunny Mask has been sort of released back into the world, and how crazy that gets for Tyler. But it's been really exciting. And we've also have some cool books coming out in July. We've got Clans of Polari and Beyond the Breach, which I'm especially excited for. That's from Ed Brisson. Wonderful dude. I worked with him a lot at Marvel. And so to be able to bring him over to Aftershock and to have him start writing something for us, especially something as crazy and as kind of spooky as Beyond the Breach. It's a big monster book. It's a big interdimensional fugitive book. We're really psyched for it. But yeah, probably the biggest thing that's going to be happening for Aftershock this year will be the launch of our YA line, which we're calling Seismic Press. It's a new imprint coming from us. It's run by the same editorial team, but the focus is on a much younger audience. And the stories take place over a much longer set of pages, obviously. So we're going to be doing a series of OGNs, starting with Rainbow Bridge in August from Steve Fox and Steve Orlando. It's being drawn by Valentina Brancati. It's an adorable story about a young man who is going into high school and just recently lost his childhood dog, Rocket. And one fateful day, he's allowed to cross the Rainbow Bridge and, reunite with Rocket. And then they go on an adventure together in the Forever Fields, taking on a series of dogs and cats and other creatures that have been turned into Haick hounds. It's a lot of fun, and I think it's a great precursor for what we have planned for the imprint moving forward. We've got quite a few projects already on the docket on the slate for that, but nothing we've actively announced yet, so I can't talk about. But we're going to be seeing a lot of stories in that vein that appeal to middle grade and older students. So I can't wait for us to be able to talk about that more openly. But Rainbow Bridge is our flagship title for that new imprint, and it's very worthy of that flagship title. But yeah, we've got a lot going on. We got a lot moving and shaking and rumbling at Aftershock, which is appropriate for our brand and for our publication history, I think. So yeah, there's some big stuff coming up. We've had some big announcements this month. We're going to continue to announce for the rest of the year. We've just got a really great publication slate that we've already planned through 2022. So I just can't wait for folks to see what we have planned and to pick up more books, starting with Bunny Mask on sale tomorrow. I can't believe that book is out in the world already. It's going to be really fun. But yeah, people should keep an eye out for our Aftershock titles, and especially for Seismic Press. I'm very excited and proud of the work that we've put into that imprint. And the various projects and creators we've been able to work with to make that line inclusive and diverse and interesting and full of good story, which is what Aftershock story is at its core, is a good story. So yeah, I'm just generally excited. That's what we got. I would continue talking forever about what Aftershock has planned. But that's really it, unless you have any questions for me.
No, those sound great. I was wondering, I'm particularly looking forward to the Ed Brisson book. I've been a big fan of his stuff since I think I read was the last hit at Boom for years. So so I'm excited for that. So if you had to pick one that you would say, this is the one you got to get, this is the one not to miss, which one is your favorite? What's your pick?
Well, I'm that's hard, because I really do think that our upcoming slate is very strong. And I think that we've got a lot of interesting, weird stories coming out that we're not seeing many like it at other publishers. But I'm glad that you brought up this is sort of Ed's return to independent publishing, right? This is Ed's sort of first chance to jump off from his Marvel work and to do something on his own over here. So we were just really proud and grateful that we were the people he took this project to. So he talks about it in interviews, and he'll talk about it in the lead up to the book itself. I'm sorry, I have a bad thunderstorm happening here. You can probably hear it, but Ed's been talking about this in interviews and stuff like that, about how during the pandemic he had a little bit more of downtime, and so he was able to, instead of just being like someday I'm going to go back to indie comics and I'm gonna write this story. He found himself like really wanting to go on a road trip and like really wanting to get back out in the world. I think like everybody. And because he had all that downtime, he sort of funneled that desire into this story, which is about Vanessa, who's a Canadian like Ed, who comes to comes to California to drive up the coast and kind of do a quick road trip through California. And she starts in the redwoods. And as she's driving through the redwood forest, something happens. And everything just goes dark. And when she wakes up, it's several hours later, it's almost nighttime, and everything is on fire. Like her car has been flipped. She has to drag herself out of the wreckage of it. And once she does, she realizes that the other cars on the road, the other tourists, all experienced the same blacking out. And when they woke up, they were under attack from some monsters. And so we've got these flying monsters coming around, attacking people, picking them up off their cars, breaking into their cars and pulling them out. There's larger monsters happening in the background that are just sort of there. And there's these smaller creatures that look like koalas, but they're about like knee height. And they're trying to defend humans from the attacks from these flying monsters. And Vanessa sees this young boy whose mother has been pulled out of the car, whose father is in the process of being pulled out of the car. She runs over to the car and is able to defend the boy from these monsters. And basically what happens after that is she has this young boy named Dougie, who she takes under her wing. And one of the small koala-like creatures named Kai comes in and joins them. And they basically start a road trip along with this mysterious man named Samuel, who rides a giant tortoise named Turtle. It's a road trip with all of them trying to make their way through this now post-apocalyptic landscape to try to get Dougie back to his grandparents. And all the while, Vanessa has lied to Dougie and told him that his parents are just going to meet him there because he can't seem to process the idea that they might have died in that attack. And then there's a lot of other mysteries that come out around Samuel, specifically who he is, what he is in regards to this dimensional incursion that they call the breach that has happened. And so there's huge swaths of the landscape that are different. There's lots of different monsters and creatures besides the ones that we see in the first issue. There's a lot of different threats and adversity that this small group, this sort of found family, has to navigate in order to survive this attack, to bring Dougie to safety, and to try to find out if there's a way to reverse the breach, if there's a way to bring our world back to the way that it used to be, so shortly ago. So it's a fun adventure story. It's a road trip story. It's a story about finding family in dangerous situations and looking out for each other. And yeah, it's just about Vanessa trying to figure out who she is now in the context of basically the apocalypse, and whether or not the breach has spread out beyond California, how widespread this is, how the world is going to react to it. There's a lot here to mine, and Ed has an incredible pathway ahead of him. He's really written out a really good runway of what we're going to see and do, and it's a lot of fun. It's being drawn by Damien Cauciero. Patricio Delpeche is coloring the book, and we have Hassan Atmane El How, which I think I've mispronounced his last name, but he's wonderful. He's one of the best letterers in the entire industry, in my personal opinion. But the whole art team is just firing on all cylinders. It looks great. The monsters are cool and weird and different. Vanessa's a character you're going to want to root for. Dougie's really cute. Kai's really cute. And Samuel, I think, is one of the best enigmatic characters that has shown up in comics in recent years. So I'm really psyched about that one. That one hits stands in July. I believe it's on sale, and I have to look it up now. I think it's on sale on 7/14. Beyond the Breach one hits stands. And I'm really psyched about that one. Like I said, it meant a lot to us that Ed came to us and talked to us about doing an independent comic with him. And I think that it's some of his best work that he's done in a while. So yeah, I'm really excited about Beyond the Breach. I really do think that we have a strong slate coming up. And I'm excited about seeing how these books do once they're out with people and people get a chance to read them. But Beyond the Breach is a personal favorite of mine for sure. For sure. I'm not supposed to call favorites, but I will.
You heard everyone here. Beyond the Breach is Christina's personal favorite, and is the one for everyone to look for. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
So now I will turn us over to Travis McIntire from SourcePoint Press to give us a lowdown on all the great stuff coming from SourcePoint for this year and maybe beyond.
Okay. So I actually have something a little bit different than sort of like what our upcoming is. So do you mind if I share my screen?
No, go right ahead. There you go.
Got it now?
Yep.
All right, cool. So what I thought would be kind of interesting would be to talk about kind of how the company was changed and how it kind of was restructured over the last couple of years, and how the changes that we were sort of forced into and the adaptations we had to make while the pandemic was going on in order to, basically stay liquid and keep doing what we do. We will talk about, books going on. We have a Kickstarter through Garrett Gunn right now for a book called Good Boy that we're really excited about, that's doing super well. So, if anybody wants to check that out, that'd be great. SourcePoint has been around for almost 10 years. And in that amount of time, we've done a lot of different things and branched out into a lot of different parts of entertainment. And so 2 years ago, me and some of the other leaders of the companies decided to roll everything up into a corporation. And so that's when Oxeye Media came into being. So at around, this was in July of 2019. So we're still a solid 6 to 7 months out. And if anybody knows anything about us, they know probably that, our convention ground game is very, very strong. That's one of our major things. That's what we consider ourselves to be the best at. And so essentially touring and being on tour all the time is a huge part of our business. And what we did, so we rolled Oxeye up. Essentially, it turned into 3 divisions. You have SourcePoint Press, which is books, and then Deepwater Games, which is a game company that me and some partners own. We rolled that into there. And Then Oxeye Entertainment, which is an entertainment company that I've been doing various film, smaller film projects and development projects in. So we put all this under one umbrella. And the timing of this ended up being really, really bad because essentially the pandemic hit, and in terms of like banking and all of that, instead of having a company that's been around for a decade, I have a company that's been around for 6 months. And so that really, really hurt us at first because, of course, we were able to get bank loans or lines of credit or any of the useful things that you can have to do that. And then in February, end of February, all of the conventions dried up. And so for us, we had always kind of looked at our distribution was probably less than 50% of our actual business. And the rest was live shows and things we did ourselves. So we roll all this up and shows are getting canceled and we know that the whole year is going to change. And so what we did is we kind of spent about a month robbing Peter to pay Paul because our game company is actually quite large. And we sunk that all into advertising and we kind of ended up building a fairly robust e-commerce company that handled all three of these divisions to the point where now we actually own and operate a 22,000 square foot warehouse that just handles hundreds and thousands of packages every single day going out all over the place. So it really worked and it really kind of buoyed us and kept us alive through the whole of 2020 and into 2021. And the original plan to put all this stuff together wasn't really like, it was never like, well, there's going to be a pandemic and you're going to lose your main source of income for the book publishing. It was, we want this to be a little bit more tax advantaged and we want to, have the companies be able to work together a little bit better. So now that we're kind of through 2021, we've sort of found our feet and everything started to recover. Now we're kind of working on putting these things together to have a pipeline where we kind of control all our own IP. These are all the employees that we have. Some of these guys might like Sean Schimmel, the voice of Goku. He's a big part of this whole thing. Is me over here. All the rest of them. So these are all the people that work here. Many of them are wandering around out here making a bunch of noise. So we've had, so this was actually a presentation that I put together just a couple of days ago for one of our partners, but these are some of the media people that we work with. To be honest, probably most of these articles, like the New York Times article was about our game Welcome To. Most of those are probably about gaming because we're a lot larger in that world than in comics even. Partners that we work with, basically all of the major, the major distributors, several production houses, several other game companies, because we are making so many games that are based on comic IP, which some will be being announced over the next month or so. Some are well known, like Gloomhaven with Cephalo Fair and stuff like that. Where we ended up with the company after 2020 is we're currently releasing 12 to 15 books a month through Diamond. And right now we're doing 2 a month through Simon & Schuster. So those would be, bigger titles, larger graphic novels, or we actually have a novel line that's starting up now that'll be going through those. And I'm hoping to have that double into Simon & Schuster distribution by the end of the year. As you can see, like fiction novels, we'll have 20 out by December of this year, I think, and we're hoping to do 20 new ones next year. We also have a small slate of nonfiction books. They're kind of based on things that some of us here are specifically interested in that we think could be fun. So that's kind of our plan that we've put together moving forward now that we've sort of stabilized and really found our feet. And especially now that conventions seem to be coming back, we're hoping that that'll just be additive as opposed to becoming our main piece of our bottom line. That will not be additive and be, that'll be the money that we invest in new IP and new things. So Deepwater releases about 8 to 10 new games. It'll be 8 this year. And then 10 to 20 expansions or accessories. We are pretty big in localization. A lot of our games get optioned into many other companies, and this is a big earner for us. And then we do a lot of co-publishing with some fairly big names. We do, we focus on games that are a lower price point and they're easier to play and they can be played in less than an hour. So, we don't generally go for the hardcore gamer. We go for more families or groups of friends who want to learn a game in 5 to 10 minutes and then be done playing that game an hour later. Or it's a game that lends itself to be played over and over and over again. And we've had a lot of success in that. So what we're doing right now is we are taking a lot of the IPs. So we kind of got our start a decade ago doing horror comics. And that for a long time was really all we did. And I would say it's probably still the thing that at least I personally am maybe best at. But these are 3 that we did really well with in 2020. And they're very, very different. This Dan Chris Children is sort of a throwback 70s exploitation horror type story. Black of Heart is really detective noir, and Cold Dead Hands is kind of a bonkers, almost like 90s style goofball comedy. We did a line of fantasy IP that we felt pretty good about. Fear Diaries, Samurai Grandpa did really, really well for us, and Claim, which was based on a game. And so that brings me to kind of like, there's comedy ones in here too. That kind of brings me to what what we're really focusing on right now is taking some of the things that we've developed through 2020 or that we kept in house. And, we have several different games that are in development right now that are going to be coming out that are based on these IP. So what we kind of ended up getting to, and it took about a year longer than we thought, was this idea of like, okay, we are, I'm getting tired of sort of like going around, taking my book and its IP and trying to monetize that by myself when I already own a game company that does very well. So now we've kind of really connected that pipeline of IP that we bring in, and then we can develop it in-house, and then we can turn it into a game, and then that game can be on the shelves of a Target, or a Walmart or a Barnes & Noble or any of the 4,000 gaming stores in the US that don't actually also sell comics. And so that is essentially what we did through 2020 is, right before that happened, we had fundamentally changed the definition of what our business was going to be. And it was very close to disastrous, to be perfectly honest, when all of that went down. And luckily we were kind of able to circle the wagons and get everything up and running. And now in 2022, we have a huge slate of books, and we're really excited about all of them and different things. And we do crowdfunding, we do tons of shows, and we're going to continue doing those. But I think the thing that we're probably the most excited about is not traveling and not having all our key people on the road. Literally, 40 out of 50 weekends a year has kind of enabled us to spend a lot more time planning on what these pipelines look like and how we can take the most advantage of controlling the IP completely ourselves and completely in-house, and taking something that's a comic and turning into a game, and vice versa, taking things that are games and turning into comics, and trying to like marry those two fan bases as much as possible. That's my little shtick, and I'm happy to answer questions. And I know that was probably a little bit different. Maybe I misunderstood the assignment.
No, it's interesting. I mean, it kind of plays into some of what I was thinking about asking later, and we can do that in parts, and everyone can kind of bring it up, because I think it's going to be impossible to break apart from any one of us what you did over the pandemic and how it changed your. I know for us that was everything that's coming out this year is. And even next year is a result of changes we had to make due to the pandemic. I'm sure that's how it is for everyone. So it'll be interesting to see how these different parts play out. But thanks for that. And now I will move over to our next presenter, James Haick, the president of Scout Comics. So he can show us some of what you have coming out and tell us a little bit of how the last year and change has changed Scout, and what you guys have in mind for the market now that hopefully, fingers crossed, everything is reopening and people can actually go out and buy comics again.
Yeah, thanks again. Thank you so much for having for asking us to be a part of this again. Last year, I remember us doing it, and hopefully next year we can all meet in person at
That's
San Diego Comic Con and
touch
do
wood.
this
I know, in
in a
person.
live event. And I feel like we're getting closer. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did a little PowerPoint as well. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Actually, let me pull it up. I just had it pulled up. But yeah, to say that it for all companies, not just Scout, 2020 was a very interesting year. And it was all about adapting to what the new world brought us. And I feel that we did a pretty darn good job, all things considered. So hold on one sec. I'm just going to throw my presentation up. Everybody see that okay?
Yep.
So one of the big things, as a lot of you guys are well aware, is Diamond stopped producing or pretty much stopped distributing comics for 4 to 5 months during the pandemic. And one of the things that was very lucky for us, Scout, is that our printer, our biggest printer, was only 3-4 miles away, and they were considered essential. So we were able to actually produce new content. And we took it upon ourselves to actually self-distribute. So we're located in Fort Myers, Florida, which is where our headquarters is. And we formed a lot of relationships where a lot of publishers do with the local comic shops, because they're basically the bread and butter of this business and help this business survive. So we started dealing directly and kind of circumvented the whole typical distribution system. When things started back up, we did as well. And we basically joined up everything. But we're still continuing that distribution direct. And on top of that, I'm sure a lot of you are aware, we, like a lot of the publishers on this conference, signed a deal with Simon and Schuster for bookstore distribution. On top of that, a few months ago, we signed a deal with Lunar Distribution, who's the sole provider of DC, where we have a non-exclusive deal with them as well. So what we're trying to do as a company is try to make our comics available on as many different channels as possible, so customers and retailers can get them as easy as possible. We also signed a deal with Universal Distribution, which is a big distributor out of Canada. And I know we had a lot of comic fans and shops up there that just had, shipping prices from the US to Canada. It's always been a difficult task to tackle. And we think we figured it out with Universal, but we've just been constantly trying to create new revenue streams for the company. So I'm just gonna go through our imprints. We launched this year our Scoot, which is our all age imprint. And last year, actually the previous year, 2019, we released our horror sci-fi imprint called Black Caravan, and both have been extremely successful so far. And I put it in a little bit, like you see nonstop there. It's more of a way we release books, not necessarily an imprint. And I'll just go into that real quick. So the nonstop format that we created about 2.5 years ago, it's where we cater to the collector and also to the reader. So we come out with the first issue, we call it the world premiere. And then shortly thereafter, basically the Diamond order cycle, we come out with the first trade or the completed trade, depending if it's an ongoing series or if it's a one and done graphic novel series. So we've had extreme success with this. We start off at one a month or one every month, and now it's basically one a month. And the concept of it is it's really just an evergreen product for the customer and also for the retail shop. So people always want to find out what the story's about. If they want more, they can get more by getting the trade and vice versa. So when we launched our all age brand Scoot, we decided to kind of do it this way because I think all of us can agree we need to cater to the next generation of comic readers. When a lot of us were kids, at least when I was a kid, I used to purchase comics at the newsstand, which technically doesn't exist anymore. So, and I'll lead in how we plan on tackling that as well. But Scoot, we're going to do low cost individual issues at $1.99. And then we're going to come out with a Scholastic, we call it the Scholastic size or the Dogman size trade, which is the smaller version, shortly thereafter. Coming this August to coincide with Free Comic Book Day, we're doing our highlights type of magazine called Scoot Frontiers. There's going to be comics and games and puzzles and whatnot. And it's going to be a quarterly magazine that we're hopefully going to be offering through Simon & Schuster, obviously through Lunar and Diamond, and for a subscription model through our website. As I said earlier, it's going to be issue ones. We're also going to do standalone one-shots. And to help the retailer decipher this and the consumer is we're just not going to number it. It's going to be one and done stories. Those will typically be the normal comic price of $3.99. But the key to Scoot is that we're making it really evergreen, the entire product to be evergreen. And again, to that first issue, while still being a collector's item per se, it also is a low cost to the parent's wallet, so to speak. So far it's been really great. We've been hitting the ground running. We do coloring book covers. We do Dr. Seuss homage covers. We also did this really cool thing where each Scoot issue has like a Disney version VHS homage cover where it looks like the old Disney VHS clamshell. So it's really cool. So we are catering to both readers and collectors through that program. Now, Black Caravan, we started in 2019 to huge success with the Electric Black, Phantom Starkiller. We have, July, which is San Diego Comic-Con. We have 2 really big releases that seems like they're going to be our top sellers of all time, at least to date. It's We Don't Kill Spiders by Joe Schmalke and the continuation of Phantom Starkiller with Count Draco Knuckle Duster. And both of those are going to be revealed. We're also doing, the Black Caravan crew is doing an exclusive box set that we'll be announcing shortly. That kind of really goes into detail about this box. It's going to be a limited run. We're doing exclusive covers by some of the top name artists in the business. They can only get through this exclusive catered box. Broken Souls Ballad has been a very popular title in Tales Told and Techno Horror. By the time you guys see this, both of those issues are already out. And they've been doing very well. Tales Untold and Techno Horror is your basic, really cool, like I would call it like a anthology with a meaning. And Broken Souls Ballad is like a dark version of the X-Men. Very cool. Highly recommend. And then also we introduced something last year, and we're going to be this year, and we're going to be continuing it going forward. It's called the Legendary Edition. So what this is, it's 11 by 17 full comic, lettered and all. It's like an art book style. So the first one we did was with Phantom Starkiller. That's being released in June, and the pre-order numbers came in huge, but it's a full size 11 by 17 high res inks and pencils of that particular issue. So we plan on doing one with White Ash, some of our more popular titles, and some of the most beautiful line work we've seen. White Ash, Count Draco Knuckle Duster #1, and Snow White Zombie Apocalypse #1. We'll be getting this treatment in the next few months. The other thing that we launched last year and really going full forward this year is Tracker Collectibles. That's going to be our toy line. Peter Gorel, who is the creator of Phantom Starkiller. And for those of you who don't know, Phantom Starkiller created quite a following on the action figure through his Super 7 toy line over the years. And we basically got the license, a year and a half ago, and it's been a huge hit since. We've developed quite a great relationship with Peter. He's come in to run Tracker for us. So our first Tracker, or our first pretty much wide release, was a 16-inch plush Stabby Bunny toy. Or figure as we call it, but those are available right now, and they're going to be available through Lunar and Diamond as well. And this August, we are launching our first, basically, Star Wars size 4-inch action figure line. And the first 2 are going to be Phantom Starkiller and Lillian from White Ash. There will be some stretch goals, but we have a whole bunch of figures that we've already really designed. And our format is going to be a little bit different than your typical, 3/4 inch, 3 3/4 inch, or 4-inch action figure line. It's similar to Star Wars and G.I. Joe, but they're going to have detachable heads, arms, and legs that are interchangeable. They call it the Glyos system. It's going to be similar, not the exact same thing, but it will be fully compatible with those Glyos system toys. So we'll be releasing like heads and different arms and legs for the different creations as we go forward. We're also releasing a Murder Hobo, Warhammer compatible miniature set. We're going to be doing this with a lot of our popular fantasy line toys, or IP, and that one should be out this fall. But here's some of the amazing images. Gut Ghost will be one of them. Lena from the Mall. We have Julius Black, and of course Phantom Starkiller. And then one of our most popular titles that is just, I highly recommend if you haven't. There's been 2 volumes. It's called Metal Shark Bro. Here's a couple pictures of the Stabby Bunny plush. It looks like it was taken directly from the comic. So the next thing that I'm very excited, we've launched in June, and it has I think, a chance to change the industry, hopefully for the better. So we created this thing called comic tags. So the concept here is we're making digital comics collectible. So one of the big things that we find, a lot of us publishers find on the back end is a lot of comic shops don't like, they see digital as a way of putting themselves out of the business. What we're doing is we're trying to make it collectible and giving retailers the chance to partake in that digital, marketplace. So what we did is we combined aspects of 3 different successful business models: trading cards, comic books, and gift cards, and formed this hybrid comic tag. So what you get is you get this collectible card, and on that card is a scratch off code for a downloadable PDF copy of that book. Now, these cards will have normal cards, we're going to have hologram cards, metal cards, etc. And they're going to be a very low price point. So they're going to be on this backer that opens and closes and has art in it like a mini comic book. So we're launching in 8 title waves. The first launch is in June, July, etc. We've partnered with Scout Comics. Here's the little displays that will be available to all the shops at launch. They're displays that carry basically 8 different titles. There's 2 per row and there's 4 rows. And we're going to be giving these to a lot of the retailers, again, to put right by the register. We view it as a low hanging fruit, so to speak, kind of like going to the grocery store and grabbing a drink or grabbing some gum or candy. Again, most digital and print graphic novels between 100 and 250 pages are priced between $14.99 and $29.99. Our comic tag graphic novels will be priced only at $6.99. Again, this is a substantial discount from their, the digital and print versions. So in the future, we're going to offer all kinds of cool collaborations. We're not only doing Scout, but Comic Tags is an affiliate of Scout. We will be doing other publishers that we've had some preliminary talks with as well. And I guess I just want to go into a couple titles that we'll be releasing before the end of the year, just to share it with everybody. We have Cities of Magic, which is, I would say it's very similar. It has quite a twist to Magic Order from Mark Miller. Really cool series. The art is absolutely gorgeous. This is going to be launched in December. Code 45, which follows a girl in Montreal who is a train operator, and it's got this horror-based theme. Very cool. Really excited about this one as well. Cult of Icarus. It's done by a couple of fast-rising screenwriters out in Hollywood, and it just follows this underground occult that turns out they could be vampires or could not be. It has to deal with rock stars. It's very cool. Again, the art is absolutely incredible. Distorted. This one's most likely in January, but it's done by an Italian duo, and it's some of the most beautiful art I've seen. It's got a very unbreakable feel to it. It reminded me a lot of the intro to that famous film by M. Night Shyamalan. Gods of Brutality, that will be out by the time of release, and some of the variant covers that we got for this particular series is, it's like a dream come true, being a fan myself and then getting some of these artists that I grew up idolizing to actually come aboard and to do covers for properties that I'm a part of is just incredible. So I wish I could reveal it, but we have to wait for a surprise. But this is a great series, basically combines rock and roll with Greek gods, and it's very well done by Rich Woodall and Mark Wesler. Killcella, it's similar to a Coachella type of festival that goes wrong, like a horror concept. Really cool. Some of the most gorgeous art I've seen there as well. Mullet Cop. This one is just off the wall. It's going to be released in July by the time this comes out. And just imagine, Danny McBride. It's a futuristic, he's a mall cop. Like Danny McBride plays Paul Blart in a futuristic society where he runs this evil organization. He has to take on gangs that live within a mall. It's so crazy, but this screams like Adult Swim type of humor. And then we have Third Wave 99 that's being released in conjunction of, in November of this year. And the concept there takes place in 1999, and we're actually releasing a clothing line that in conjunction with this title. There's some dark history about the brand. We're doing a viral marketing campaign on why the brand all of a sudden stopped. And it's going to go on the history of why it happened. But that's, in a nutshell, what we have going forward. We have constantly been just finding new ways to get our books out there and to find new creators out there. And we're real excited about going forward. Can't wait to see everybody in person, hopefully sometime soon. It's amazing. I was getting burnt out personally from doing so many conventions over the years. And this was, I guess, a nice recharge because I'm ready to get back on the road and see everybody and interact with, comic fans. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Leave it open to questions. Anybody have any concerns? Not really concerns, but questions, or want to talk a little bit?
No,
Josh?
it's fantastic. It's everything. I know every year it seems like you guys have a new brainstorm and a new brainchild. I think I remember when you proposed the nonstop line, and I was always interested to see how that would work. And the subscription box that seemed like a really good
Oh
idea.
yeah, that's the
So,
other thing. I forgot to mention that. That was something that has really blown up, and that was self-distribution, where we just, took a monthly subscription box where if you subscribed, it was $33.99 a month. You got 12 comics, or a one-time purchase of $39.99. And we have these special boxes designed. That's the other thing. I'm glad you brought that up. We're also releasing what we call Title Box Tuesdays. So every Tuesday, I mean, it's safe to say, and I think all of us publishers would say the same thing, or companies, that every day that goes by, we feel like we were bigger than the day before. So a lot of our books that first came out, Scout wasn't nearly as popular as it is today. And we hope that continues, because that means we're growing. So one of the things that we want to do is to take a lot of these amazing titles that we've done in the past that didn't quite necessarily get the advantages of all the different distribution levels that we have now. So we came up with Title Box Tuesday, which will essentially be a press release. We did these limited edition curated boxes that act as Gemini mailers, and we added the mystery element to it too. So we did some special printings like these holofoil covers. I'll show you a couple here that are exclusive to the box. And what we'll do is each title will be highlighted. We'll explain the synopsis, kind of the log line about it, and then offer anywhere from 100 to 250 limited edition box sets. We think it's going to be huge on conventions, because that was a big revenue stream that disappeared for all of us in 2020 and really most of 2021. So this is something that we're going to release every Tuesday, and it really is going to help us move a lot of this product that just people didn't know about, and also put these amazing series back in the limelight. So we're always trying to think of new ways of really getting our product out there, getting our amazing titles. And I just want to say, everybody who is on this panel, I'm big fans of what you guys do. Love Red 5, Source Point, Aftershock. I mean, the list goes on. I'm a comic fan through and through, and I want us all to succeed. And the fact that we're still here in such an amazing, crazy time I think says something about our endurance. And I just think it's going to be great for all of us going forward, especially when you see a lot of the disconnect with the bigger companies when it comes to, their fans, and also, the comic shops. They have a lot of big disconnect. And I think that's where we're filling that void. So everybody here, keep up the great work, and gladly work with any of you. And again, thank you so much, Josh, for giving us this time, this platform to speak to not only the other publishers, but our fans as well.
No, thanks for coming on and giving us this time. You guys, Scout's always got a lot of innovation going on, which I'm always paying close attention to, and hoping to rip off shamelessly in order to
Please do. Again, it just helps our entire industry, man. That's my opinion on things.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that will bring it to me. I'm Josh Starnes, your host for the evening, but I'm also one of the co-publishers of Red 5 Comics. And based out of Houston, Texas, with my business partner, Scott Chitwood. And I think our story of 2020 and 2021 is probably a lot like everything you've heard from James and Christina and Travis. It was a time of everything freezing and trying to figure out how to keep the ball rolling. We actually, at the time that since we were printing primarily in Canada, at the time the shutdown happened and the borders closed, and we had about 2 months worth of inventory in a warehouse in Canada that could not cross the border or come to us in any meaningful way, and was just stuck there. We were having to spend some time sitting and trying to decide what were we going to do with that, and what were we going to do moving forward. It was good for me in a certain way, in that it's something else that I think similar to what I heard from Christina. It also put some time on my hands where I didn't have as much pressing work from the company. I could sit back on something that I've been wanting to do for a while, which is get back to comic creation. And I kind of set myself as a goal once I was sitting and having some time on my hands that I was going to actually sit and write one of the various series proposals I had filling up space and drawers in my desk, and I was going to finish one and actually turn it into a finished series and get it out there. And I spent most of the last 16 months working on that and getting that done. But at the same time, we have been busy trying to a lot of our production, not just our actual publication, but a lot of our guys who were and various artists and creators who were working on their own titles for reasons that were connected to the pandemic had to stop what they were doing too. And so not only did we have publication stop, but a lot of production stopped, which made the beginning of 2021 a bit sparse. And as a lot of things finally, like the spring coming in and the ice thawing, a lot of things started to move forward. But that means the good news is that we have a lot of projects sort of on tap for the rest of 2021 and even into 2022, as a lot of material that had been originally been planned for last year will finally start to see the light of day. The first one, just as it works out, that will be coming. We're finishing. I don't have pictures for it, but by the time anyone sees this, we will have now finished Don Hanfeld's The Dark Age, which was our big release of 2019. It got kind of hit, among other things, got hit bad by the pandemic and basically stopped right about the time everything froze. So he was finally able to finish the last 2 issues, and those are coming out this summer. That will complete that really fascinating series that is a world where all metal has gone away, and it's kind of reduced the world back into a pre-civilized condition. And people will finally find out how that happened and why that happened. And I definitely can say that no one's going to predict exactly what has come up in the backstory behind everything that happened and where it will go. But that leads us to being able to launch, starting in August and through the fall, a whole batch of new #1s and new series coming out. And the first will actually be something that is very near and dear to my heart, which is a book that I wrote over the pandemic, The Box, which is a very magical noir mystery series, taking a lot of the conceits of sort of classic noir mystery, like the books of Dashiell Hammett, The Maltese Falcon, The Long Goodbye, but then also layering in a lot of strangeness and a lot of magic, something you get on the order of the Black Monday murders or Black Order. And it follows the misadventures of this private detective, Leo Bloom, who has found a magic box through which he can take out anything. That all he has to do is think about something he wants, and he can take it out, and the box will give it to him. Most of the time, he's still learning how to work it, and sometimes he gets stuff that he's not particularly interested in, and sometimes it doesn't give him anything at all. But it has given him an edge. It's been able to make him very successful. And he's quickly starting to discover, as we start the series, the downside of that other people know the box exists, know just how powerful it can, or rich and powerful it can make someone, and want it from him, and are willing to go to any lengths to get it from him. And he's going to, starting with framing him for kidnapping, and it will get worse from there. So he has to decide how much he wants this versus is it worth having it if it's destroying his life, but also how bad would things be if he gives it to some of the very ruthless people who want it from him. So he's got some hard decisions to make in the 4 issues of the box. The first issue will be out this August, so keep an eye out for it. Understands it's out for order in June, and that will be starting our summer of Red 5. We'll be following that up with a series that I've been seeing bits and pieces of it coming in from a fantastic young TV writer from Australia for the last year and a half, and it's finally getting finished right in time for us to start our relaunch, The Verge. It's set in New York of the not too distant future, where a brilliant scientist had figured out time travel and was actually using it to go back in time and rescue refugees from events of the past that they may not have survived. So he would bring it forward some citizens of Rome around Mount Vesuvius to protect them from the volcano, or he would bring some Chinese citizens who were about to be overrun by Mongol hordes and find them out. So now and then he mysteriously disappears, and no one can make his time travel technology work anymore. So now we have these groups of random refugees from time stuck in New York City. You have cavemen, you have Roman gladiators, and you have samurai, and you have people from not only all over the world, but all over time. And it's created this new group of refugee underclass in New York City, and to the point where New York has had to create a special bureau built to police them and understand all the different workings in the different groups and keep them from fighting with each other or with the regular citizens. And suddenly we're following a decorated detective, Sonia Lau, who is one of the best young officers in The Verge. And suddenly, when different time refugees start coming up murdered, she believes it's all tied together, that there is actually a serial killer focusing on targeting the time refugees. No one believes her, so she is going to go on her own to try to find out who is targeting the time refugees and why. And as she delves more and more into the mystery, she starts to uncover the reasons why the time travel machine was built in the first place, why it was shut down, and how the world got into the situation that it is in. So look for that coming in September, Verge. We'll be following that up with the next series from a collaboration we've been having with the Argentinian publisher Stonebot, where we have been translating some of their excellent works, some of their best books, and bringing them to introduce to American audiences for the first time. We've had some great success with that, with books series like Angela Del Morte and Zira and Machine Girl. So this will be something that the next one that I've been really interested in, especially as we sort of expand our coverage into more young readers. Merlin and Hector. So this finds us meeting the famous Merlin the Magician before he was the famous Merlin the Magician, when he was actually just a young man who was not aware that he had any gifts for magic, and is actually working as a swineherd in rural pre-civilized Britain in a small rural village. And his village begins to be attacked by monsters. People are being dragged from their homes and farms in the night. No one knows what's doing it. Everyone is living in fear. And Merlin is the survivor of one of those attacks and runs away from the village. And in trying to survive, he actually hooks up with a young thief named Hector. And together they decide both to save themselves and to actually maybe make up for some of the bad decisions they've made. They decide to find out the mystery of the monsters that have been attacking other villages and to see if they can stop them. And in the process, Merlin is going to learn some things about the existence of magic. And suddenly, it's up to the reader to see, does he discover his true calling, and does magic play some part into how he solves this mystery? So I will leave you guessing what happens, but got a character named Merlin. Don't be surprised if magic's not far behind. This is a new series that we've just brought in, but I liked it so much that I wanted to make sure we could get it out this year. Carriers, which will be coming out this November. So for anyone who, like me, was a great fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 80s and 90s, and this will be the series for you. It follows a band of warrior pigeons flying amongst the concrete jungle of New York City, and the fights that they have with other good and bad warrior animal groups. There are rat kingdoms and alligators in the sewers that have to be fought, and other rival pigeon bands that want to take their territory. So we have our group of 5 carrier pigeon warriors who are going to protect their nest and protect their area of town and their citizens, no matter what it takes. But it is just a fun, ridiculous adventure series that I cannot wait for people to get a look at, coming out this November. We'll also be, I think, as I said, with Merlin Hector, we're continuing to expand our kids comic line to focus more on that. And our next series along those lines will be Bjorn, the Littlest Viking, follows the adventures of young Bjorn here, who has been wants to be a great and mighty Viking. So he has been sent basically an impossible task to go and rid his land of the trolls and magical creatures that are afflicting it, and he is going to go and do that no matter what. But obviously you can see just by looking at it, it has not just a fantastic art style, but a really whimsical, youthful energy to it. Lots of sight gags, lots of humor. Bjorn, the Littlest Viking, will be putting out both in comic shops, but in digest size for kids through our partnership with Simon & Schuster later this year. And that brings us into going to announce for the first time some of our titles that we're targeting for 2022 that will be coming out in the first half of 2022. Our next Stonebot title, 78 miles per hour. In the far future, sunlight has actually become deadly to the point where a little bit of exposure to it will actually kill a person, will render them unto dust. So your only safety from it is to stay on the dark side of the planet as much as possible, which means now mankind is all living in these traveling caravans that are trying to stay on the equinox or actually move forward with it so that they're always on the dark side. But that means they always have to keep their vehicles moving. They have to keep moving. If anything breaks down, they have severe trouble. People will be stealing cars, trying to steal machines from cars, and at the same time, they're trying to find the resources to live, which means a lot of raiding and looting because no one has time to stop and actually grow food or find food. It's only survival with what you can find on your way without ever slowing down. So 70, another fantastic Stonebot title that came out about 2 or 3 years ago in Argentina that we really were excited about and we're bringing to English reading audiences next year. My co-publisher, Scott Chitwood, has been hard at work at his own pandemic title, Download, his sort of pay on to classic Spielberg, Amblin, kids entertainment of the 80s as well, for anybody who liked, who really loved Goonies or Poltergeist. Set in the present day, a group of young kids are actually hit by this electrical pulse from space, and it implants knowledge for advanced alien technologies in their brains that they now have an impulse to build. They almost can't stop themselves from building them, so they keep building these devices, which at first seem kind of fun, not that dangerous, something that can let you have X-ray vision, a device that will let you turn invisible. But as they build more and more of them, they actually start to realize these different devices work in conjunction, and as they get put together, they gain more and more power. They offer more and more power to whoever has them, and they start to question to themselves, where did this knowledge come from? Why are they feeling like they have to build these devices, and what happens when they've built all of them? And at the same time, there is a shadowy company that realizes this is happening, has started to realize the potential for all of this technology, and wants to kidnap the kids and get the secrets from them. So which happens first? Do the businessmen get the information? Do the kids finish building these marvelous devices? And what happens when they've built all the plans that are in their heads and put them together? Who is behind this mysterious information? So we'll find out in the spring when Download #1 comes out. We'll also be following that up with the second volume of Dragon Whisperer, which is the book I mentioned earlier that was stuck in a warehouse in Canada when the pandemic started. Unfortunately, was this fantastic steampunk fantasy adventure, Dragon Whisperer, which was able to come out this past year once Diamond reopened and stores were allowed to reopen, and it still managed to find an audience even with all those roadblocks in its ways, which I think speaks to the strength of the story, where we follow this young woman who has the ability to speak to and understand the language of animals, and which normally she has just used to talk to random animals around her, until she discovers the existence of dragons. And she's one of the only people that can actually talk to them. And many groups around the world know this. They, after had been hunting the dragons, and once they find her, they realize they have found the secret to finding and controlling the dragons and using them for their own power. And they travel the world in giant sky ships. It's got a very strong steampunk feel to it, with a touch of magic. So this will be the second volume, following up on the end of the first volume, when she actually made contact with the Coven of the Dragons, and has now left to travel the world and make her way in the world now that she's accepted her abilities and her place in it. And then later in 2022, we'll be adding a few more additions to our kids line. Griff, it's about a young griffin, which is kidnapped from the jungles of Africa and brought by a rich collector to New York, but he escapes from his kidnapper, but is now lost in the mean streets of New York, where he hooks up with a streetwise pigeon who starts kind of showing him the way of life, everything from kind of trying to help teach him to fly, to teach him not to take candy from strangers or not to trust everyone, and is eventually going to try to help him get against his better nature. Is going to try to help him get home, and then one of my favorites that I've been waiting for some finished chapters for a while, so we can finally bring it out, will be Nyx. So for anyone who was a big fan of Bone back in the day, like I was, this is something very much up that alley. We follow the adventures of this young boy Nyx, who is his parents were great warriors in the kingdom he grew up in, but they are gone. And now he discovers why they're gone and is tasked with a great quest to help rid his land of evil. It's just also very light. It's like that Bone feel. It can be very comedic and very light, and can suddenly, on a turn of a dime, turn right to being very heavy and very dramatic with some fantastical elements to it. So this will be something we can't miss, and that I see a strong following for, especially among young readers, but it's that kind of classic all ages, where it will work on one level for young readers and work on another level for adults. And I can't wait for people to get a taste of it. So that's what we have coming up this year and into next year for Red 5 Comics. There's more. There's a few more things that I can't wait to announce. We can't announce yet, but hopefully very soon we'll be able to, maybe by the time San Diego's come out. But I think that's going to run us right up until our time. I want to thank everybody for joining us, James and Travis and Christina. It's been a crazy year. But I see everyone's making the best of it. Looks like there's the independent comic scene is still alive and kicking and going strong. And hopefully, I'd like to do this again next year. In person is my main goal. Do this again in person next year at San Diego Comic-Con, where I can actually see everyone, and we can all be physically up on a table, and we can actually be looking out at an audience and seeing some comic readers out there, and the way comics should be. So that's my great wish for 2022.
Again, man, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you for inviting us on. This is great.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Josh. And it's good to see you guys, Christina and James.
Yeah, take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Soon. Yeah, hopefully we can see each other at a con soon.
Knock on wood.
The next couple months.
That's
Have a good one, guys.
year.
Bye.
Finally.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.